40th win of the season. I think the last time they did that, Blake Griffin was a Piston, so it's
Yep.
been quite a minute. And they have a chance to win more than 41 games with the rest of the March games coming up, and then April, which would be really exciting. I hope they win over 45 or they hit 45 because they haven't won 45 games, I believe, since the go in the work years. So that would just be so cool if this team could do it. But I wanted to kind of just like a quick recap of this game.
Yep.
Obviously, no Cade Cunningham, no Tim Hardaway Jr. Like, what were kind of like this your initial reactions of Cade being a late scratch about 20 minutes before the game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's one of those things where, at the very least, it just makes you raise your eyebrow. It's something that you notice. I will say, with where the season's at, we only have about 10 games left in the schedule. The Pistons are pretty much sealed with where they are standings wise. Like it would take a lot for the Atlanta Hawks to come back and overtake them to get the 6th seed. So at this point, I think part of it is like at this point of the season, nobody's 100%, right? Cade's already exceeded the most games that he's played in a season in his career. So some of it is the wear and tear, the usage. I think some of it is the fact that you want to keep him as fresh as humanly possible when playoff time starts. And at this time of year, we just see more and more teams just start to sprinkle guys sitting out throughout certain games. And I think the Pistons are just picking their spots. They saw Zion's not playing for New Orleans. And, quite frankly, they just on Monday had the tied for the second largest win in franchise history against the same team. So I think there was some confidence that they could go out and still get it done. Obviously, you hope that this isn't something that would linger. When you hear a calf injury, it kind of makes you, or calf soreness is the term that they give you. It's something, again, that you just raise an eyebrow at and just keep an eye on. But I don't think it's anything that's going to have any major implications down the stretch of the season. I think, quite frankly, it's just getting their young stars some rest in an opportune spot before the playoffs come by.
It's so funny. We were the team that last season, opposing team, saying that's a rest day.
Yep.
Full circle moment. The Pistons see the Pelicans on the schedule and say, "Hey, Cade, you want to rest today?" Like, I was thinking about that. His calves may be sore, they may be not, but it is a long NBA season. You do have playoffs coming up. You do have the Cavs on Friday. You do have the San Antonio Spurs on Tuesday, and a much improved Timberwolves team. The last time we saw them, they weren't really playing good basketball. They're playing much better basketball as of late. So to end the season, you do have some teams that are going to take full strength, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity to possibly, rest a Cade Cunningham. And I would be lying to you if I said it really didn't bother me. I was like, it's the struggling, tanking Pelicans. Like, I have some Pelican reporters, like, they're literally like looking at Charlotte to see if they can get the number 1 odds. Like, that's kind of where their mindset's at right now. I'm like, man, been there, done that. Don't get your hopes up if you get 5.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, no, those odds it could be a double-edged sword if you get those top odds, because on one hand, there's no chance you can fall out of the top 5, but on the other, you are very likely to get that 5th overall pick. And if it happens, you have to live with it and hope that you really get someone that you like, which luckily for the Pistons, all 3 years they had the number 5 overall pick. I think they ended up getting a prospect that they're pretty thrilled with.
Yeah, I don't know if the NBA is going to reward them with the Cooper flag. I just don't, especially with everything that kind of went down there. But let's
if
talk about
Dallas ends up getting that pick, that's what's going to set the conspiracy theorists ablaze.
That or San Antonio.
True.
Yeah, the Cooper flag Wemby, that would just be unfair.
Yeah.
I'm glad we don't have to talk about tankathon odds on here anymore.
I'm really glad I don't have to be looking very, very extensively at draft prospects at this point of the year. We're probably not going to be having many draft conversations at all going into this summer, because realistically speaking, unless for whatever reason there's a guy that Trajan's in love with and somehow trades in to the first round, we're probably not going to have a first round pick. So unless we're talking about a Bobby Klintman-esque pick where we go get someone in the second round that somehow, could be awesome. But more than likely, I think we're going to be focusing more on free agency and potential trade targets.
Yeah, same here. We got to talk about Ron Holland and Marcus Sasser. I want to stick with Ron Holland because a lot of people, when he had his Boston game, they're like, that was Ron Holland's best game of the season. But I remember that game. It was garbage time. It was the Celtics third stringers out there. He still scored 26 points. Don't get me wrong. But I thought tonight, this 26 points was impactful because he was getting an extended role with THJ being out, and Pelicans really didn't have any answers for him whatsoever.
And the Pistons needed every last bit of what Ron Holland was doing to get this win. I mean, no Cade Cunningham, no Tim Hardaway Jr., no Jaden Ivey. Your Asar Thompson goes out with three fouls very early in the first quarter. So you're essentially without four starters for a pretty significant stretch of the game. And Ron comes in, and we know the constant with Ron is that he's always going to play with energy, because he's going to play with intensity. He's going to bring it each and every single night. There's never been a possession where I've gone, oh, Ron Holland didn't push hard enough there, So like that's never the question with Ron. The question is, like his efficiency, his ability to score on a consistent basis. And the thing that immediately stands out is his ability to finish at the rim and his creativity at the rim. I mean, he has touch and he has athleticism that you just can't teach, that you just can't really like replicate very easily. And then on top of that, you see the bits of the improved jump shot. He was passing at a really high rate. They actually they showed in the post game, and you tweeted this earlier too, that this was the first teenager to have a 25-5-5 game with no turnovers since 1983. As a reminder, he's not even 20 yet. He turns 20 in July. So when you look at his trajectory from the beginning of the season to now, and to your point, the stakes and the matter of which his role was important tonight it was much more significant, to your point, than that Boston game. Not to take anything away from that, but this was they really needed him to get this win tonight, and he really came through. And to your point with Marcus Sasser as well, he's not always consistently in the lineup, but we know that there's nights where when he gets his shot going, he can be as hot of a scorer off the bench as anybody. And I think we saw that, and the fact that Ron Hall and Marcus Sasser combined for 46 points tonight. I didn't think we would see that all season. And the fact that we saw it in this fashion, I think that's pretty impressive. Got to give a tip of the cap to him.
I think the biggest reason why Sasser had a game where he scored 20 points is he actually got the playoff ball, which I've kind of been pounding the table with fans. I thought in the beginning of the season, he was put in a position that he had to play, not in a position where I thought they were using his strengths to the best of his abilities. And stuff like that happens in the NBA all the time. You're asked to play a role that maybe isn't your A game. It might be your CD game.
Right.
I think Marcus Sasser is still developing as a ball handler and being able to set up offense. Like from possession standpoint, I think he does at least a good job of setting it up, but it's not something every day that you want him to do. I thought Dennis Schroeder being out there, kind of being that veteran point guard, getting him good looks was helpful for him. And to your point, they needed all 20 of his points tonight. Same with Ron and same with JD. I thought Jalen Duren also, you got to give him his respect, because I think a lot of people this season are saying, like, when Cade's not out there, what is Jalen Duren doing? Well, he got you 20 points tonight. You needed Jalen Duren's 20 points as well. So all three of those guys had a big impact on this win, and I'm just glad they were able to get this win, because I don't know if this fan base could handle another loss with a lottery bound team after you beat them. It kind of like gave me flashbacks of beating the Wizards, and then the Wizards come back and beat you. I was really hoping that was not going to be the case tonight, and it wasn't. Thank God. because you know how this fan base can be. They're very reactionary.
Well, and like you said with Jalen Duren, the thing that was really impressive about is, about the way that he plays, not only in this game, but just like whenever there are these like, breakout performances, which are happening more often for JD. I think the big thing is he's recognizing the nights where he can really take advantage of, of the opponent that's facing him. Like when you're facing like Kelly Olynyk for like a massive portion of the game, when you're at Jalen Duren, you got to lick your lips and you got to take full advantage of that. And that's exactly what he did. He got a lot of his points off of second chance buckets, off of offensive rebounds, off of just doing a lot of dirty work in the post because he knew no one could stop him if he did that. And that's exactly what happened. Defensively, it wasn't necessarily the greatest game. Still need to, see a little bit more, from him on a consistent basis as a rim protector, but that's just kind of nitpicking, to be honest with you, because he had a really damn good night overall.